I'll preface this by stating this is a rhetorical question. You have to ask yourself, is your belief system predicated on assumptions? Well, is it, punk? Banking on you being familiar with these. Let's see. There we go. That's what we need. I may have to bring this down here and do it like so. Yep. Killing time before a bus. We're gonna ride a fucking loser cruiser. So we're gonna use these two to knock this jazz out. The colors are arbitrary, at least in this case, and I'll probably suck at drawing them. What I also want you to appreciate is if you guys ever want to get to the really cool fucking answers, you have to slug through all the shit that you don't want to think about, you don't want to confront, that you've likely internalized because we've all been indoctrinated into the same system. If you're not willing to do any of that, you're not going to make any progress. Now, let's see if I can knock these out and make sense of it. Because our masters are laughing at us. Let's see if I can draw these little fucking Facebook thumbs up doodads. 5 fingers, right? Roughly, or 4, and then a thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's a little fucked up. You get the gist of it, right? There should only be that many. Roughly. Told you I was going to fuck it up. And then you got one over here. You're going to mirror this kind of. That. Do you see it taking shape, by the way? In terms of the thumbs up and the thumbs down and how our masters are laughing at us and something that I've already taught people numerous fucking times over. Because there's something else I want to talk to you about that also relates to this in a big fucking way. And it's one of those things that most people don't want to confront. I want you to think of this. And we're looking at the same thing here, mind you. This is this. It's the same fucking thing. And then we'll do roughly an S curve through there. And then what you usually get is you're going to get a little bit of this on this side. And you're going to get a little bit of this. Did I just use the wrong one? No, it's blue. It just looks very dark. You're going to get a little bit of that on that side. And the thing is I want you to think about being gay. I also want you to think about how the system you and I inhabit works. In other words, this sings to this. And this is why there's something that has been echoed. It's a Beatles song, for fuck's sake. All you need is love. That's what this is. The harmony between these two things. Now, I don't got another blue one and I don't got another red one at the moment. But if these two things are not singing to each other and you got 2 blue ones, butt fucking, or you got 2 muff diving, this, that, and the other thing, the system doesn't fucking work. That's not how the system works. That's why it's been demonized. Now, keep in mind, I grew up in Santa Fe, New Mexico. I have gay friends. I have gay family. I have this, that, and the other thing. I often will state that cross-dressing and a number of other things have been weaponized because they have, and you would know this if you look up the Tavistock Institute and you look up the eugenics agenda, and these things are alive and well, and you and I are being manipulated. But I really want you to pore over this and consider this, because hot and cold, night and day, electricity and magnetism, and the list goes on. There are nothing but examples. Best of all, you'll hear people, and this is ironic because you have the Wachowski brothers, who claim that they're sisters now, even though that's not how that works. They're not going to grow a vagina. They weren't born with a vagina, is a better way to put it. If it's not natural, it's not healthy, is the bottom line. But supposedly they cooked up movies having to do with binary, ones and zeros. That's what The Matrix is about. And yet you'll be told that it's this trans this and that and blah, 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 cross-dressing. Cross-dressing isn't, it's not, I almost said it's not a religion, but that's where we're headed with it. Cross-dressing isn't a gender, and cross-dressing isn't a race of people. These are facts. You can dress up an entire fucking campaign, societally speaking, but it doesn't change the fact that cross-dressing isn't a gender, and it's not a race of people, nor will it ever be. Dudes and gals are born. In case you guys haven't heard me already talk about this, hermaphrodites, even hermaphrodites are born with one working sex organ, predominantly speaking, because this is how it works. That's how it works. That's why the ancients echoed this. This is why our masters are laughing at us. Do you not know what I'm talking about? Some of you might not actually know what I'm talking about. Here, we'll flip them too. We're talking about this and this. And this might not mean anything to you, but if you look around, it is also seeded everywhere you fucking go because it reflects reality in a huge fucking way. These two things sing to each other because all you need is love. And I'm not saying that a dude and another dude can't fall in love. I'm saying if the vast majority of people out there buy into the campaigns that have been manipulating people, this will become grossly disproportionate. It will become disharmonious, which is why these things have been weaponized. What the fuck do I know? Oh, by the way, that means electricity, if you don't have a goddamn clue. And when you put them back to back or ass to ass or ass to head, pardon me, that's magnetism. It's not something somebody's going to spoon feed you. These symbolically represent the fields and how they work. That's why it's echoed. It's something I've spoken about at length, but for the most part, I'm trying not to teach people the really cool shit because I need you to consider the really hard shit first. And this is just one of many things. Voting doesn't matter, light doesn't have speed, and the list fucking goes on. People don't have a goddamn clue what's going on because they are not invested, which means they're not involved. You're not going to see most of the videos that do matter that I leave online. Usually they have 0 fucking views, which means you have to go to the profiles. You have to find the things that I leave online for you. Because I keep spending time and energy, and I've been doing this for over 10 years. If you're not willing to do that, you are not willing, you're not invested, you're not involved, and you are part of the fucking problem because I don't know anybody else who could teach you this shit. The really cool stuff, mind you. This, you should have already figured out, but people aren't cooking with fire. How many people will see this? How many people will think about it? How many people aren't going to systematically, knee-jerk reaction, reject it? Here's another question. How many of you have heard of brainwashing? How many of you have rattled that off before? How many of you have looked into it to realize that that's superficial jargon that was spoon-fed to superficial people to repeat? I know that sounds mean, but it's also intended to be mean so that you challenge yourself and you challenge others to do the right thing. Where it comes from is something known as psychic driving. If you look up the name Ewen Cameron, he's the asshole who used to conduct experiments having to do with psychic driving. What people consider the government, which is by all rights a corporation related to the trilateral city-states, look into it, don't buy into it, just the same. They adopted his research. And they adapted his research. They also paid off the numerous families that Ewen Cameron, the numerous families, or the family members, the living ones, mind you, of the patients that Ewen Cameron saw and harmed. So the U.S. quote-unquote government, which is a corporation, America became a corporation in 1871 when the Organic Act established the District of Columbia. That's a subpar jurisdiction. In other words, if it was for the people, by the people still, there would be no need for that. No need for such a thing. Good people wouldn't do something like that. But America became a corporation in all capital letters. In the event that what I just said blew you away or you doubt it, because you're not going to find it written in the fucking Constitution. Does the Federal Reserve exist? Was it established in 1913 under the pretense of being both voluntary and temporary? Does it still exist? The Federal Reserve has nothing to do with free people. The Federal Reserve has nothing to do with the Republic because the Republic fell during the Civil War and was finalized in 1871. Quite afraid. Yeah. So back to point. The government adopted and adapted Ewen Cameron's research, which is psychic driving. It was dressed up in a flowery way, not unlike calling, censorship shadow banning, or polarizing positive vibes only will manipulate you so that you buy into this type of shit and you accept it. Or you started calling, patently fascist censorship canceling. Same difference. People call it brainwashing. It sounds really cute. Psychic driving just doesn't have the same ring to it, but that's where it came from. And most people you bump into don't know this. Why does it matter? Tangent Cam. I said most people don't know this. Why would that fucking matter? Because if you go looking for brainwashing, you're going to find a bunch of superficial fucking garbage. If you go looking for psychic driving, you're going to find the root behind what's ailing us these days. But what the fuck do I know? As it reads, in psychic driving, patients were often exposed to hundreds of thousands of repetitions of a single statement over the course of their treatment. Now that's the core behind it. Simple. Our masters got us through what? Echoing the same goddamn thing again and again and again. And over time, it erodes moral compasses, it chips away. Like I just said, it erodes. It wears you down. It becomes normalized. People become familiar with it because all repetition is routine, and all routine is fucking black magic because everything physical has to do with black magic. The light lies within. It's a bigger thought. It's a far bigger thought. Our masters understand these things. Most of you assume you don't have masters, but you do pay unconstitutional taxes. Some of you work, 5 to 6 days a week, and the list fucking goes on because you and I have masters and we put bread on their table. And you and I are being manipulated. Anything, which I've already said, anything that's well-financed and well-circulated can't be trusted, and it shouldn't be trusted. It would not be trusted by well-meaning people capable of abstract thought, which is to say critical thinking skills, motherfucker. I'll read the rest. They were also concurrently administered muscular paralytic drugs such as Curare to subdue them for the purposes of exposure to looped messages. You could think of any well-financed and well-circulated sedatives, shit that breaks you down, makes you feel comfortable, and more pliable to accepting the message. Growing up in Santa Fe, New Mexico, I remember some of my gay friends talking about something, and I didn't know what they were talking about. Turns out it was known as poppers. Some of you might know what that is. It functions much in the same way. I'm not saying it's the worst thing in the fucking world. I'm sure it's a lot of fun, but it functions in the same way, and it's still currently used today. By the way, why do you think one of these is purposely obscured on some sites, on some profiles, social engineering platforms? Why do you think one of these is a heart sometimes? It's because our masters are fucking laughing at us. Think for yourself for the first time in your life. I know it's insulting, but it's also true. And if you do, you will realize that I am helping you. Here's another thought to think about. I can spoon feed you aspects of this, but because people are unwilling to fucking look into things, they're not going to appreciate the other angles. They're not going to dig. They're not going to research. They're not going to think for themselves. So if I don't do that all in one package, one way you could think of it is if I leave one video online and you actually see it in your feed, which is pretty unlikely, you're not going to watch any other corresponding videos that relate to it, being that in a lot of cases, you can only put 10 minutes on fucking TikTok or one of these fucking social engineering apps. Now, you can do a little bit over 10 minutes on Instagram, LifeLog 2.0. But if people don't watch all of the videos, it's going to be taken out of context and or they're going to be lacking information. It's like reading one chapter or maybe a paragraph out of a fucking book and assuming that you have a grip on things. Then you dash out the fucking door wildly and you react. That's what we're experiencing these days, and that's what our masters want. Because this video is over 10 minutes and because I'll probably upload the rest of this to YouTube, I could spell this out. Ignore the hazelnuts if you can. I could spell out, watch the rest of the video. It's on YouTube. And most people are not going to fucking take the initiative and go to that, especially if they're offended. If they were truly offended, they would want to know what the fuck is the other side of this, argument talking about. What do they have to say? Why? Because they would want to be informed. But most people would click block. They would sooner click block, ignore me, try to trash talk me, refute this jazz based on popular opinion and hearsay, or some other equally ridiculous, garbage that wet farts tend to shit out. Take any subject you and I have been told, sold, and urged to repeat, or anything you just come by and you think you're on the right track. Take it and apply it. if it does not sing to reality, if it is not interconnected with how reality works, it doesn't hold water. You're being sold a package of bullshit. You're being lied to. You're being manipulated. You're being walked down the primrose path. It's a tried and true way of reasoning this shit out. Case in point, off and on, 1 and 0, crudely speaking, this is the binary principle behind all things, which is why it's purposely being corrupted these days. Because if you don't got that much, you can't build off of that. Just think of A plus B equals C. In other words, 1 plus 2 equals 3, because all things manifest in 3. So whether you're thinking of the 0 and the 1, or the 1 and the 2, as the incremental steps that build everything you could possibly imagine, these things are actively being corrupted so that you can't cook with fire. So you wouldn't consider cooking with fire. You just smear shit on the walls and tell other people to look at it because it's really neat. Meanwhile, do you inhale and exhale? Because if so, those are two different states, off and on, which means you're a binary creature. Do you eat food and take a shit? If so, these are two different states. This means you're a binary creature. Because this is what reflects reality in stark contrast to what people are repeating. No, there's no flashy images or any of that other garbage that people have been trained to respond to, because you and I are being manipulated. So what I'm working on right now, it details how you and I work and how there's, divinity in us and all that other crap. I'm downplaying it because it's absolutely undeniably beautiful. Now, the thing is, I could leave this online tonight. And every now and again, I'll kick around the idea of doing things like that. Now, if I did, most people would probably not see it. If they did see it, they'd probably ignore it. And or they wouldn't think about it. And of course, there'd be a few people out there who think that they could leave something on there that's cute, like, trust me, bro. Or they'd leave some social engineering stickers people call emojis that were written into the algorithm to dumb people down. Or they'd leave a thumbs up or something else equally insulting. So what I'm asking you to do is to think for yourself for the first time in your life. And I'm sure that's going to be insulting, and I'm sure most of you assume that you have been this entire fucking time. If that was the case, things wouldn't be bad, they wouldn't be getting worse, and you and I would be surrounded by people who are cultivating the best and the brightest, not lowering ourselves based on social engineering campaigns. There are numerous agendas afoot, and we are being manipulated. What I can show you is absolutely fucking beautiful. It is something you are not supposed to know. Aspects of this, I should say, archetypal images, symbols, icons, iconography, sigils, all that shit, all the synonyms. You've seen some of this before. Some of this you're vaguely familiar with, and you dismiss it. You have dismissed it your entire life, which goes back to what I just said. I would like you to think for yourself for the first time in your fucking life. Because if you were, I wouldn't have to teach you these things. People that already know some of this jazz. And some of you will probably assume, but there's answers online. People are circulating answers. What they're circulating is pre-packaged CIA narratives. CIA-sanctioned narratives, typically speaking. Things of that ilk. Shit that was cooked up in the Tavistock Institute. Shit like that. People aren't cooking with fire. And they don't realize it. Because they have their head so far up their ass, they're willing to leave things online like, trust me, bro. I think it's been less than a year, maybe a year roughly, but this is my 4th TikTok because they've burnt multiple ones to the ground. They even deleted my the account where I sell books online, other people's books, mind you. Incorrectly deleted it instead of this one. It's a shit show. Either way, I'm a little guy online. I don't have a lot of traction because I am censored on the DARPA internet. What I wanted to highlight is, I think I'm leaving this post, mind you, which has one fucking view, one person I know, mind you, saw it. I want to highlight that I did leave this online. It's got a bunch of fucking words on there. You figure somebody would watch the video, or at least it would have been shown to people, whether they sat through it and processed it. But it has one fucking view, and it's only because somebody I know who cares about me and I care about her came to the profile and clicked on the video that had 0 views. This is how it works. I can leave things on here with my moniker when it's not reversed, which is what you see right there, and it will have 0 views because I am censored on the goddamn internet for a very good reason. Now what I want you to parallel this thought with, consider all the kids out there echoing the message, rattling off all the shit that our masters have spoon-fed them, the shit that's being echoed, the things that are being repeated. Meanwhile, you and I are experiencing the age of patently fascist censorship. So if they were actually talking about something that does reflect reality, would benefit people as a whole, they would have no traction. But these are the kids that have thousands upon thousands upon thousands of followers. Maybe I said that too many times, just the same. It stands to reason if you think about it. But the people who are backing these things are not fucking thinking about a goddamn thing. Now, here's an ironic question. How many of you have the balls to share what I left on the internet tonight? Nudge, nudge, something, something. Have yourself a laugh.